Charlie KK is preparing to give a speech at Utah Valley University.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what. We're going to be here for a couple hours. Get comfortable. Bring the best libs that Utah has to offer.
Argue that individuals in society must be armed. He says that gun ownership is the guarantee of freedom and security. And it is exactly at this moment, when he frames gun ownership as a matter of rights and freedoms, that he is assassinated. Everything happens before the very eyes of the people. But why did this happen? Why did Charlie KK become such a target? What was the motivation behind eliminating him? For years, his speeches, controversial views, and sharp statements drew huge attention. Some saw him as a courageous voice, while others believed his ideas were dangerous. Was this merely an act of hate? Was it done for money, or was it a carefully planned assassination because he had angered certain people? There are incredible details here. Let's take a closer look together. The first thing we need to know, was this a chance shot or a deliberate one? You might say, what difference does it make? But in fact, there's a big difference. If someone from the crowd had attacked him purely out of hatred or for money, it would have been just an ordinary assassination. But it's clear that wasn't the case. Because bringing a gun into the area where the speech was held was prohibited, that means the shot must have come from outside the venue. It wasn't fired at close range, because sneaking a gun into the crowd would have been noticed and immediately caught. But it also wasn't fired from very far away, because at the very moment the shot was fired, the bullet hit Charlie. If the distance had been great, there would have been a small gap of a few milliseconds between the gunshot sound and the bullet's impact. But there wasn't. This shows the shot wasn't made from too close, nor from too far. Whatever the case, this required skill and knowledge. The assassination was clearly carried out by someone trained, because the shooter only had one chance. If they had missed, Charlie KK could have instantly moved or taken cover. To fire a second shot, the shooter would have had to stay in position for a few more seconds, which would have increased the risk of being caught. That's why the assassin planned a single accurate shot followed by a quick escape. Right after the incident, the first person arrested was a rather overweight older man. Why they arrested him isn't clear, perhaps suspicion, but it was soon revealed he was not the shooter. There was also the possibility that someone had entered a building and fired from there, but the gunshot produced a large echo. Listen carefully. Applause. The bullet came from a long-barreled gun without a suppressor. This echo strongly indicates the shot was fired outdoors. If it had been fired from inside a building, the sound would have been absorbed and would not have echoed like that. When Kirk is hit, if you watch closely, you can see his t-shirt lift up. Some claim he was wearing a bulletproof vest and the bullet ricocheted into his neck. But to me, it looks as though he was shot directly in the neck. For many reasons I could explain this, but due to YouTube policies, I can't show those exact moments. Later videos revealed that the shooter was actually positioned on top of a nearby building. After the shot, he stood up and left, climbing down and escaping. He was in plain sight, but no one paid attention. Based on the footage and the shooter's location, the bullet was fired from at least 130 to 140 meters away. This further supports the idea that the attacker was highly trained in firearms. This reminds me of the assassination attempt on Trump. Again, someone on a rooftop, and again a series of major security failures. The tragic irony is that Charlie KK, who was passionately defending individual gun ownership, was likely shot by someone who was individually armed. But there's another curious detail. Some people analyzing the footage from different angles suggested that a person standing right next to Charlie, who had placed his right hand under his left arm, might have actually shot him. In other words, they claimed this could have been a false flag operation. A false flag operation means an event is staged to hide the true perpetrator and shift the blame onto another person, group, or country. According to this theory, the rooftop gunman was deliberately positioned there, allowed to climb up and escape, to be made to look like the assassin, while in fact someone else carried out the killing. In the footage, it seems like the man had a gun in his hand, but there is no visible muzzle flash. Personally, I think this is just a theory, but who knows? After the event, Trump was asked a question about Charlie Kirk, and his response was truly bizarre. Music. It felt almost like watching a sitcom comedy, didn't it? Anyway, we've discussed who might have carried out the shooting, but why would Charlie KK have been targeted for assassination? Charlie was not an ordinary figure. He gave big speeches and said things others didn't dare say. In his university years, young Charlie quickly gained attention with his confident rhetoric, eventually noticed by Will Montgomery. In 2012, the two founded Turning Point USA together. Charlie's fame grew rapidly. At the same time, so did the number of people who despised him. Sometimes he spoke about black pilots being hired only to meet quotas, claiming this was dangerous for flight safety, reducing the matter to a single race. Other times he criticized Martin Luther King's Civil Rights Act, calling it a restriction of freedoms, despite the fact that it was a historic victory against discrimination. For many, this made him look like a racist. On top of that, his pro-Israel stance and remarks such as, "There is no such thing as a Palestinian people," drew even more controversy. With all these statements, Charlie KK was, in the eyes of some, a brave truth-teller, while in the eyes of others, a figure fueling division. His death left behind many unanswered questions. Of course, some details emerged about who might have carried out the assassination, but as for who benefited and what the real purpose was, we may never know. Because, as the saying goes, the thief prepares the excuse before stealing the minaret. One thing is certain, Charlie K. will continue to be debated, both for what he said and for the way he met his end. But perhaps the most important question is not who pulled the trigger, but why now? Why at this particular event in front of students in broad daylight? Timing in politics is never random. Charlie KK had been gaining momentum with young audiences. His ideas, controversial as they were spreading faster than ever on social media. Supporters claimed he was giving a voice to silenced opinions, while critics argued he was radicalizing the next generation. Eliminating him at such a moment sends a powerful message, not only silencing the man, but also striking fear into those who might follow his path. Another point to consider is how the security detail allowed such a breach. If the shooter really climbed onto a rooftop nearby, how was this not prevented? Was it sheer incompetence or something more deliberate? Some analysts suggest that when security failures line up so perfectly, it's rarely coincidence. In the aftermath, conspiracy theories exploded online. Some say it was a government plot to stop him before the election season. Others believe foreign interests may have been involved. There are even those who insist Charlie himself knew he was a target and deliberately leaned into danger to prove his point about freedom and risk. Whether that's true or not, we may never know. What we do know is that his assassination has already changed the conversation. People are asking harder questions about free speech, about the Second Amendment, about political polarization. And in a way, Charlie KK achieved what he always wanted. Even in death, he forced the nation to confront its deepest divisions.
Talk, and she's devastated. She's absolutely devastated, as you can imagine.